This is Steve Curtis, Customer Experience Lead for Columbus Global. With me today I've got Stephen Fox and Craig Hamer. The focus of this webinar is to take your qualified opportunity and move it through quotes, contracts and invoicing stage. So first of all, a reminder of where we are with Dynamics 365 for sales. And what we're looking at is an environment where the seller, the manager of the salesperson, and the customer all are able to work together to be able to drive sales performance for the business, to get relationships better with the client, to have actionable insights and to drive sales productivity. Now, a core part of sales relationship is to manage quotes, to manage the contracts, go back and forth as needed, and then manage invoicing. Now, this is just an overview webinar, but if needed, we can go into much further detail on this if you're interested at the end of the webinar. So we're going to go straight into demonstration mode now and see how Microsoft Dynamics 365 can manage the generation of the quote and the contract as needed. Okay, so now we're in the sales opportunity that we were working earlier on through to qualify. And this is with our contact Eric Lemieux for Contoso, and they're interested in buying some lift machinery. They have a budget of about £50,000 on this. Now, what we can do immediately is start to go into the product line. Maybe we're on a telephone call, or maybe we get this through from Eric. Now, before we go into the detail of this, bear in mind that there are portal capabilities, so that if you want self-service and Eric to place this order himself, he can do over the web. And there's also complex pricing engines. So if you want to use a CPQ engine over the top of this, there are products like Deal Hub and Expologics from ISV vendors for Microsoft that do that very, very well indeed. So in this case, the revenue from this is going to be calculated off the product catalog, and we're going to add a number of products into here. So we'll start with some Duo lifts. So we'll add some Duo Classic lifts, and we'll have 5 of those items, and we'll save that, and we'll work through this quite quickly. Now, you could do automatic calculations of tax on this based upon the price list that you're using, but in this case, what we're going to do is we're just going to add in a couple of product line items quite quickly, and then build up the basis for what we want on the quote. So we're going to bring in some trio lifts. These are a little bit bigger, and maybe the customer wants 3 of these as well. And now we'll go back to the opportunity. You'll see that the estimated revenue on this has been building up, and it's calculating that automatically based upon the current price. Now, we can apply discounts off this if we want to. We can apply discount percentages. So I've already applied a discount percent of 20% on this because of the customer. We could change that accordingly. So the price has gone from 65,500 for the 2 items down to 52,400. However, shipping on this is going to be 250. So we're going to add that on, and that then brings us up to a total price of 52,650. Now, when we're ready to produce the quote, you simply go across into the quote tab, and we can now start to create quotes. So we're going to create the first quote. As you can see at the bottom, you've drafted a new quote. To finish it, click Activate in the top menu. Now, this quote is taken in the products and the product lines. You can add the products at this point in time as well if you want to go straight to quotes and then start to add in products. And then it starts to pull in shipping information and other pieces off the customer account. So it does that automatically. You could drop in different address details. We're going to leave the address blank for now, again, in terms of speed to get through this, but it's pretty easy to be able to put the address details in. And then the final thing that we need to do is put effective dates in here. So again, you could default these. We're going to make it effective from today to the end of the month in this case. So we've got our effective from and effective to dates for this particular quote. And then what we're going to do is we're going to email this as a PDF. Now you have three different options here. You can activate the quote, which moves it out of draft and allows you to base an order on it. But in the moment, what you want to do is actually create a PDF of this and see what the customer thinks. So we'll go straight to email as PDF, and we'll email a templated quote summary. So Microsoft Dynamics has a number of different templates, and there is a quote summary that can be available to you. And what this does is it opens out automatically the email interface for us to be able to email that quote summary directly out to the client. Now, alongside that, you can, if you want to, put some text in that will go into the email. Keep this short. There we go. And then what we can do is we can send that email out. Okay, so that has now gone out, and that's going to be effective through to 31st of the 10th. Now, we could, if we want to, activate that quote. So if the customer comes back in an email and says he accepts a quote, you can do that. The other thing that you can do is you can put digital signatures onto this. So DocuSign, Adobe Sign, there's a number of partners that, again, are very, very good, and they provide extensions to be able to get digital signatures off the customer and to do the routing of the digital quote out to the customer and the receipt of the digital signature. And that will land back in automatically as an activity against the opportunity, and you can be notified automatically of that receipt and then activate the quote. So assuming that this quote is accepted, then we could activate the quote, and if it is not accepted, then we could go in and create a second version of the quote, and that quote then would have a new effective from and an effective to date. So you could end up with multiple versions of a quote, all held within the system, all auditable, all visible from your quotes area in here, and all tied to the same single opportunity. But once you get to a point where the customer accepts one of those quotes, then you can go in and activate that quote record, and that will then make it an accepted quote. And at that point, it locks the record, and then you can start to generate the invoices. So now that the quote has been activated and we've received the confirmation, we can create the order. Now you do have the ability at any time to revise the quote, as you can see at the top here. You can close the quote if it's potentially been lost or revised, but in this case we're going to go straight to creation of order. Status reason, yep, we want it today. We can put any further details on this. All of these screens are configurable, by the way. We're going to close the opportunity as one, and we're going to calculate the revenue from the quotes. Now that will create a sales order in the system, and here we can see the generated sales order that's come through. And we can see that sales order, all of the relevant details of standard price list, the number of products that's involved, and basically who it's for. Now what tends to happen is when that order is created, we'll then send that information through to whichever your financial system is. If it's Dynamics 365 for your financials, then that information will flow through automatically, but we've also done interfaces into back office products like SAP and Oracle as needed. Now there is an invoicing capability that's built into Dynamics 365 CE. So as you need to start to send the invoices out, you can go off those particular quotes and off the orders and then generate the relevant invoices. But what we tend to find in most cases, quite honestly, is that the invoices come out of the finance system, and therefore the handover at the order level over to the finance system is absolutely critical. and that's what we most of the time see with our corporate clients. This has been Steve Curtis. Hopefully this has been useful. And if you've got any further questions on this, please drop them at the bottom of the screen.